The agonizing decline, the horrible death of King Henry VIII. While King Henry VIII is often remembered for his 6 wives, his role in the English Reformation, and his imposing physique in his prime, his final years and death were a protracted and gruesome affair, a stark contrast to the image of the virile and powerful monarch he once embodied. His demise was not a swift or dignified exit, but a slow, agonizing decline marked by debilitating physical ailments, a volatile temper, and the sheer decay of a once magnificent body. To understand the true horror of King Henry VIII's death, we must examine the confluence of medical issues that plagued his final years, painting a picture far removed from the regal portraits that have immortalized him. But before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest content. Now, let's get to it. The seeds of Henry's physical decline were likely sown much earlier in his life, particularly with the significant jousting accident in 1536. During a tournament, the then 44-year-old king was thrown from his horse and the heavily armored animal fell upon him. He was reportedly unconscious for several hours, and while he survived, this incident is believed by many historians to have had long-lasting consequences. Beyond the immediate physical trauma, some speculate that this head injury may have contributed to the increasingly erratic and tyrannical behavior that characterized his later reign. Furthermore, the injuries to his legs, particularly his thigh, never fully healed and would become a source of chronic pain and recurring problems. The most visible and perhaps most impactful of Henry's ailments was his extreme obesity. In his youth, Henry was athletic and admired for his physique. However, as he aged and became less active, compounded by a famously prodigious appetite for rich foods and wine, his weight ballooned. By the 1540s, Henry was morbidly obese, a condition that exacerbated numerous other health issues. His immense size made movement difficult, requiring assistance even for simple tasks. Contemporary accounts describe him being winched onto his horse and later carried around in a chair. This lack of mobility further contributed to his physical decline and likely played a role in the development of other ailments. One of the most persistent and foul-smelling afflictions that tormented Henry in his later years was a chronic ulcer on his leg, likely stemming from the old jousting injury. This ulcer was not a simple wound. It became deep, festering, and prone to infection. Drainage and attempts at treatment were constant, and the stench emanating from it was reportedly so severe that it could be detected rooms away. The pain was undoubtedly excruciating and unrelenting, significantly impacting his temper and overall well-being. Modern medical analysis suggests this ulcer may have been complicated by factors such as poor circulation due to his obesity and potentially even underlying conditions like diabetes. Beyond the visible and debilitating issues, Henry likely suffered from a range of other ailments that contributed to his overall decline. Gout, a painful form of inflammatory arthritis often linked to a rich diet, is frequently cited as another of his afflictions, further limiting his mobility and adding to his chronic pain. Headaches, possibly migraines exacerbated by stress and his other physical ailments, were also a recurring complaint. Some historians even speculate about the possibility of type 2 diabetes based on his symptoms, including the poorly healing leg ulcer, his weight gain, and potential mood changes. The cumulative effect of these physical torments was a king in constant pain, increasingly immobile, and likely suffering from the psychological toll of his deteriorating body. His legendary temper, already volatile, became even more unpredictable and tyrannical in his final years. The physical discomfort and limitations likely contributed to his paranoia, irritability, and the swift, often brutal justice he meted out to those who displeased him. As his health continued its inexorable decline in the winter of 1546 to 1547, Henry was a shadow of his former self. By this point, he was largely confined to his bed at Whitehall Palace. His immense bulk made breathing difficult, and his ulcerated leg was a constant source of agony and infection. Even his once sharp mind likely suffered under the strain of chronic illness and pain. The final days of King Henry VIII were a grim spectacle. His enormous body, ravaged by disease and obesity, was failing. According to historical accounts, even his physicians were hesitant to inform him of his impending death, fearing his notorious wrath. On January 27, 1547, the day before he died, his confessor was summoned, and he received Holy Communion, suggesting an awareness of his mortality, even if unspoken. His last recorded words, when asked which priest should attend him, were weary and indicative of his declining state. "I will first take a little sleep, and then, as I feel myself, I will advise upon the matter." These simple words, devoid of the booming pronouncements of his earlier years, speak volumes about his exhaustion and fading strength. In the early hours of January 28, 1547, King Henry VIII died at the age of 55. His passing was likely due to a combination of his multiple health problems, including organ failure, exacerbated by his obesity, the infected leg ulcer, and potentially a pulmonary embolism. The once vibrant and powerful king had succumbed to the relentless assault of his own failing body. The aftermath of his death further underscores the physical decay he had endured. Accounts of his funeral procession describe the immense weight of his coffin, requiring 16 strong yeomen of the guard to carry it. Some later, possibly apocryphal, stories even speak of the bursting of his lead-lined coffin due to the sheer size and decomposition of his body, a final, gruesome detail in the narrative of his horrible death. In conclusion, the death of King Henry VIII was a far cry from the majestic image he cultivated during his reign. It was a protracted and agonizing decline, marked by debilitating obesity, a festering and foul-smelling leg ulcer, chronic pain from gout, and the likely compounding effects of other ailments. His final years were a testament to the destructive power of unchecked indulgence and the relentless nature of physical decay. The once virile king died a physically broken and suffering man, a stark and unpleasant reality often overshadowed by the more dramatic events of his tumultuous reign. His death serves as a visceral reminder that even the most powerful monarchs are ultimately subject to the frailties and indignities of the human body. Tell us what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest content. And as always, see you in the next video.